and where did it come from? We asked Tony Bobulinski that. Tell me about the money. So, in the end, the Chinese did send quite a bit of money.
Correct.
Where did it go?
So, documents were all executed, even after this back and forth. And the Chinese CFC Director Zhang, who's number 3 at the company, worked directly for Chairman Yi. And the way it was presented to me as a very senior Chinese Communist Party member, was assuring me that $10 million was being sent to our bank account that was set up at JP Morgan Chase to basically fund operations and grow the business. And that of that $10 million, we were capitalizing the business. So $5 million of that $10 million was being loaned to Oneida Holdings as a non-recourse loan from CFC. And the other $5 million was coming as CFC as their capitalization of the business, because we own 50-50 in the partnership. The Chinese and CFC never viewed me. I'm insignificant and irrelevant in this discussion. To them, it was always the Biden family. It wasn't Hunter Biden. It wasn't Jim Biden. It was the Biden family, who's obviously led and operated by Joe Biden. And in a document that you guys have, and I think it's been provided to the world, the Chinese reference that because of their trust in the Biden family, that Chairman Yi and Director Zhang are excited about moving forward in this. And in that document, they reference loaning $5 million to the BD family.
Right.
The BD family is the Biden family. And notice they didn't say we're loaning that money to Oneida Holdings, or we're loaning that money to Tony Bobulinski, or we're loaning that money to James Gilliar or Rob Walker. They, once again, not a document generated by me, a document generated by CFC, that they're loaning that money to the Biden family.
What are the implications of this going forward? If Joe Biden is elected president, which could very well happen, how does this constrain his ability to deal with China?
Are you asking for my personal opinion?
I'm asking for your opinion as someone who's worked with the Chinese.
So I think Joe Biden and the Biden family are compromised. Obviously, I've referenced that I held a Q clearance. You're briefed on compromise and who you're able to talk with and deal and do business with. And I just don't see, given the history here and the facts, how Joe can't be influenced in some manner based on the history that they have here with CFC and stuff like that. So as a citizen and an American taxpayer, I'm very, very concerned.
It seems at this point that there is so much documentation, and again, we have your documents, the ones that you retain, the text, the emails, and the legal documents, but presumably there are many others because there are a lot of other people involved in this. Is it possible that this stuff just disappears and nobody covers it for the next 4 years if Biden's elected? I mean, it seems like there's a lot of evidence out there.
I think the American people should be demanding that this is investigated, and I don't know what the right party to do that is. Is that the DOJ? Is that the FBI? Is that Congress? Is that the Senate? But there absolutely should be no scenario that this isn't investigated. And as you said, I probably have purview into 10%, just picking a round number, of what was actually going on. And I would encourage the American people to go online and download Senator Johnson's 87-page report after watching this, and read pages 65 through 87 and form your own conclusion. What I've come forward with is a piece in that puzzle that Senator Johnson and Senator Grassley did not have. They didn't have it because I hadn't gone on record, and all this information and documentation was kept very, very tight. You asked me if the information disappeared. I would expect that other parties have probably destroyed or gotten rid of information. I didn't. I have every email, every text, every WhatsApp that was exchanged, and I've provided that to the authorities, and here I am discussing it.
So you learned from the Senate report that the Chinese sent a great deal of money, but it didn't go where it was supposed to go, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So take the American people back to July 2017. I was being told by Director Zhang, who's a senior executive at CFC, that the $10 million was going to be funded in 2 tranches of $5 million and $5 million. Once again, the way they were approaching that is $5 million was a loan to the Biden family, and $5 million was their contribution to capitalize Sinohawk Holdings. That money didn't come in June, it didn't come in July, and I was in Europe traveling with friends and family, and I was frustrated because culturally there's a tendency to, hey, it's coming, and it wasn't coming. So I was very frustrated. But also in July 2017, something that happened is over July 4th weekend, while we were celebrating our Independence Day, President Xi was in Moscow meeting Vladimir Putin on an official visit. And in that meeting and in that, multiple days, Director Zhang was in Moscow participating in that. And Rosneft, or media in Russia, had leaked to the press that they were entertaining selling 14% of Rosneft, which is the state-owned, U.S.-sanctioned energy company of Russia, to CEFC. When I saw that leaked, you can imagine, once again, the clearance I held, the military background, sort of pushed away from the table like, whoa, this is stair-stepping things at a level that do I even want to be associated with, or do I even want to be near? Shortly after that information got out, I was told that Director Zhang's visa was denied. He could no longer get back into the U.S. for meetings or to, bring his wife and his kids to go to school in New York, and that it was denied multiple times. Jim Biden confirms that in text. James Gilliar references it. Kevin, Dong Wen, who's the individual that's referenced in Senator Johnson's Senate report, he went by Kevin. His legal name is Dong Wen Gong, sorry. And so I was sort of walking on eggshells, what's going on? You're saying this money's going to be funded. It hasn't come in yet. I'm sort of near the end of my rope here. And then in September, easily validated, it's officially announced that CFC is buying 14% of Rosneft, once again the state-owned energy company. And so at that point, I just sort of pushed away from the table. The money hadn't been funded into Sinohawk, and I was having daily discussions with James Gilliar. What's going on here? The Biden name, Russia, China. I don't want to be anywhere near this. I got to understand all the moving pieces. And so we went into the fall of 2017, very well documented, when Patrick Ho, who's an employee or an associate of CFC, landed in New York. He was detained by the U.S. government and put in jail for corruption, apparently for leaving shoeboxes of cash to 2 African presidents. And it started this downhill spiral of CFC as a company. Remember, President Xi was traveling around the world under the One Belt, One Road. That was their political approach. And CFC was the capitalistic side of the Chinese government, doing things that they could do on the capitalist side that the government couldn't get done. It's very well documented, the work that CFC did in the Middle East, in Czechoslovakia, in Romania, Kazakhstan, in Georgia, all over the world. When they announced that they were officially tendering for 14% of Rosneft, a deal valued at $9 billion, I sort of pushed away from the table like, okay, obviously that's taking priority over this discussion. I just sort of, was watching things play out once they detained Patrick Ho. I did reach out to Hunter Biden in October 2017, asking him, hey, listen, they haven't funded the $10 million. Have you done something that I'm not aware of? Have you gone around us? Have you started a parallel discussion with Chairman Yi that I should be conscious of? And in a variety of text messages that you've been provided, and I think the American people have been provided, he says, no, I didn't go around you, but oh, by the way, I'm acting as the personal attorney to Chairman Yi. Now imagine being in my shoes, looking at my phone, reading this text message from Hunter Biden. I just spent 6 months all out of pocket myself. Nobody was paying me. I was paying for my own travel, my own meals, my own cars, anything that was needed. And Hunter Biden is now telling me that he's meeting personally one-on-one with Chairman Yi in his $50 million penthouse in New York, and if he can't meet him, he's picking up the phone and calling him, but they only discuss things in person. You can imagine my anger and frustration there, because then I'm like, oh, this has gotten slippery. You have gone around me. What's going on here? And oh, by the way, Hunter, you're acting as the personal attorney to Chairman Yi while they're tendering for 14% of the Russian state-owned energy company, a deal valued at $9 billion? What am I missing here? And he sort of just plays it off, and he said, I'm working on a bunch of other personal things and visas and stuff like that, but doesn't go into a lot of detail. I'd love for you to ask him that. I'd love the American people to ask what those other special things were.
You've told your story in a very public way. What do you expect the consequences for you and your family will be?
So my focus right now is not the consequences on me. I'm actually trying to be selfless in this discussion. I think the consequences our country faces, that average American voter that's thinking about what presidential candidate they picked today or have picked over the prior 2 weeks or in the future all the way up to the election. I'm doing this for them, not for my family, not for any money. I'm doing this out of a patriotic duty to our country based on my military background and my grandfather's background. So other people can determine the facts and what matters and how they want to vote. But I had to go on record because they chose to sort of mar up my name. So I have a former SEAL team protecting my family. I'm not at home right now, and I'll travel the next 4 years if I have to. I had to do this.
Are you worried?
Of course I'm worried. I've gotten death threats, calls. Obviously, I sat with the FBI. They assured me I would more than be protected by them when and if needed. But I think I'll slowly become irrelevant in this discussion because the facts are so powerful and so necessary that hopefully I'll just sort of go stage left, and hopefully our government and the appropriate people, the Biden family, will go on record and basically provide facts to the American people.
Tony Bobulinski, thank you for talking to us. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tucker, for having me.